turn our attention to China again, but this time a different perspective. The U.S. presidential campaign was full of negative references to China. Both candidates ran a tough on China message in their campaign ads. But the U.S. Undersecretary of State, Robert Hormats, says the world's two largest economies still have plenty of room to cooperate.
China wants to increase its dependence on domestic demand relative to foreign demand. That's a direction of policy that we certainly support. China wants to address environmental issues. We certainly support that. China wants to have a greater degree of engagement on investment. We want to support that and work with China on investment issues that are mutually beneficial. There are many areas in which the 12th Five-Year Plan and the China 2030 report and some of the things that President Hu Jintao said in his speech to the 18th Party Congress are consistent with the kind of things we find we can cooperate with China on.
I want to also ask you about two things that were mentioned from the Congress meeting in Beijing, one of which is to double GDP growth by the year 2020, the second which is to shrink the income gap by increasing per capita income. As someone who follows the economy so closely, what's your initial reaction when you heard this?
Well, I think those are both very laudable, very positive goals. And I think that China can attain those goals. Certainly, China's growth has been quite strong. For a 10-year growth objective of doubling GDP, very good thing, doubling GDP per capita. Obviously, it will depend, when you look at it, on ensuring that lower income people are able to achieve very positive results in terms of increasing their incomes. That means broader distribution of benefits and opportunity throughout China, including central and western China, which the government is focusing on very correctly and very constructively for a more homogeneous society. We have interests in China that in many cases converge. We also have areas where we have difference of opinion. We're concerned about intellectual property protection. We're concerned certain investment sectors are restricted and American companies can't participate. We're concerned about an unlevel playing field between some Chinese enterprises and foreign enterprises. We want to make sure that our companies and state enterprises in China can compete on a level playing field. I think there's an opportunity. I've had a chance on several occasions to meet with incoming President Xi Jinping, who is very interested in investment. He runs a very large conference every year in Xiamen Island focused on investment. I'll be going to China to give a big speech on investment cooperation between our two countries so that they can be mutually beneficial and based on a level playing field. There are opportunities, and we, China and the U.S. being the two biggest economies in the world, have great opportunities to work together in our mutual interests, Chinese say win-win, but also in the interest of a well-functioning global economy. So we have to do it together.
You've been listening to the rhetoric of this election. You would think that perhaps the relationship may be somewhat strained. What would you say to those individuals out there, whether you're in the U.S. or in Asia, that ask the question of where are we in the relationship between the United States and China? What would you tell those individuals?
I would say the U.S. and China have a very unique kind of relationship. On one hand, we're very competitive with one another. We also have areas where we have real differences. I'm talking now in the economic realm, but we have areas of real differences. But there are also profoundly important areas where we have converging interests. And the art and the skill of managing this relationship is to build on areas where we have common or converging interests, and then work just as hard to identify areas where we have differences of opinion and try to resolve those.